Hola, Piloncillos! Welcome to the 11th episode of the Offerings of Copal podcast. This is your host, Cihua Mazatl. Today, I want to invite you to join me in an exploration of what it really means to live and create with authenticity, to honor creative integrity, and to contemplate the grit, the real, sometimes uncomfortable work that this path demands of us. These reflections come after a recent journey home to Mazatlán, Mexico, where I was faced with the complexity of family connections, the impermanence of life, and the powerful tides of change that are moving through us collectively and cosmically. I hope that by sharing my experiences and insights, we can together dive deeper into what it means to live genuinely and to create from our truest selves. This trip to Mexico made me reflect on how deeply interconnected I am with my family, and yet how much remains beneath the surface, the words unspoken, the mysteries never revealed. During my time there, I took a trip to the Panteón, and I was able to wash the graves of my abuelitos, my tía, my tío, and my recently departed prima. There, in that sacred space, I felt the weight of 3 generations of my family. It was a privilege to honor them in this way, but also a stark reminder of life's impermanence and how crucial it is to live fully, genuinely, and with purpose. The conversations I was able to have with my tías were somewhat everyday conversations or very on the surface, though they may not have been necessarily profound. Simply being in the space where my grandparents raised my tías and my tíos evoked indescribable feelings. Feelings that remind me that we never know what tomorrow holds. We must not waste a single moment of being anything other than our true selves, especially in these times of transformation. We're currently in a trecena of Miquiztli, the energy of death, transformation, and honoring our ancestors. There's a lot happening cosmically. Mercury and Mars are in retrograde, and Pluto has just entered Aquarius. These shifts offer us a powerful time of reflection, for looking inward, or for embracing the parts of ourselves that we may have neglected. Miquiztli reminds us of the inevitability of change, of the cycles of life and death that move through us, both literally and metaphorically. But Miquiztli is also about honoring the legacy of those who came before us, recognizing the threads they wove that continue to shape our lives today. It teaches us that transformation is an art, an alchemy of bringing something to life, honoring what has been while allowing ourselves to evolve. Pluto in Aquarius invites us to step into our unique individuality while cultivating community, to be ourselves fully and authentically, while still weaving our threads into the larger tapestry of our humanity, nuestro tapete de serpientes. But regardless of whether you listening right now prescribe to Miquiztli or where the planets are, these are the themes that I want to expand upon as they have been very present in my subconscious. These themes of transformation, honoring our ancestors, and reflection have been mirrored in my creative practice as well. The art show I'm participating in, titled El Barrio No Se Vende, or La Cultura Cura, is a manifestation of this deeper contemplation. It has prompted me to look closely at how we navigate creativity and healing, how we often take, repackage, and sometimes dilute the essence of what was once sacred. Inspiration is natural and necessary. It is the spark that propels us forward, but there's a difference between drawing inspiration and taking without understanding or honoring the source. Inspiration transforms into something new, while taking without depth diminishes the sacredness. I want to share that I, too, have had moments of inauthenticity, especially in my past when people-pleasing tendencies held me back from being assertive in my life path. When I am genuinely inspired by something, I make an effort to transform it until it is unrecognizable, adding my own essence. For example, I find inspiration in poses, but but I actively draw from photographs or different mediums to make it my own. When I was a little girl, I traced a drawing and said that I drew it. I think it was a drawing of Cinderella. It was either Cinderella or Precious Moments. I remember hating how that felt because I knew I could have created it myself, but I chose the shortcut. That experience taught me the importance of honoring my own creativity. In our current culture, there is a trend to copy the dance, copy the meme, use templates for creating. It can feel like the creative essence is being lost in this rush to replicate. The problem lies in the reluctance to put in the effort to harness genuine creativity, to dive into the hard work of creating something truly unique. This deeper contemplation has led me to reflect on how we often navigate creativity and healing, how sacred ceremonies can be co-opted, and how even our own people sometimes sell out culture for profit. These thoughts have inspired my piece, which will be revealed later if you come to the show. But the intention is to hold up a mirror to our practices, inspired by the inky surface of the Scalipoca's obsidian mirror, which reminds us to face ourselves with clarity and honesty, to confront the truths we may rather avoid, and in doing so, find a deeper understanding of our role in this larger community. Miquiztli also teaches us about the importance of rest, the rest in order to change, to transform. Just as the cycles of death and life require a balance of activity and stillness, so too does our creative process. True transformation cannot happen without allowing ourselves the space to rest, to integrate, and to honor the natural rhythms of our lives. This rest is what allows us to say yes to life fully, to embrace each new opportunity for growth and creativity with open hearts and minds. These thoughts, along with my reflections from Mexico, have been floating in my consciousness, and when I recently went onto social media, it struck me how hard it was to find a real person amidst the flyers, information posts, and educational content that I admit I contribute to, but I want to be more genuine. Sometimes I get lost in the exhaustive list of all the things I do. I want to slow down, be more intentional, and refine my multitude. For me, all this work is a way of life, a way of flowing between one creative state to another, allowing my heart to explore what it wants. But I also want to liberate myself from the need for something. Being a full-time artist sometimes requires me to give in to the whims of capitalism to survive in this world, and I'm searching for a balance that allows me to sustain myself while remaining true to my spirit. Living in what I call the state of multitude is my way of honoring every facet of myself, allowing me to move fluidly between art, jewelry making, healing, educational workshops, retreats, books, apparel. It's not just about productivity. It's about living authentically in all my creative expressions. Here, I think of Xochiquetzali, the essence of creativity and beauty, who teaches us that creativity is sacred and multifaceted. She reminds us that our creative expressions are a way of honoring life itself. Yet, even in the midst of creating, Huehuecoyotl, the trickster, brings in his wisdom, reminding me not to take myself too seriously, to dance with life, to laugh, and to embrace the imperfections along the way. This balance is essential, honoring the sacred while also knowing when to step back, breathe, and find joy in the process. It is in these little ways that I also make room to acknowledge the sacred energies that surround us, incorporating the Teo into my everyday life. True creativity requires us to become intimate with our own process. When we develop that intimacy, not just with others, but with our own journey, we cultivate a deep respect for our work. We honor the effort it takes the failures, the insights, the moments of doubt that ultimately shape something truly ours. There's a power in that, a kind of magic that cannot be imitated. It belongs to us, born from our spirit, our struggles, and our joys. And in this, I find the teachings of Grandmother Spider, who spins her web carefully, intentionally, connecting each thread with purpose. She teaches us that our creations are not isolated. They are a part of a larger web of existence, each thread contributing to the whole. There's a lot of conversation today about what it means to be a creator, an artist, or someone who contributes meaningfully to the community. These titles can be powerful, but they can also become labels that define us or bolster our sense of worth. For me, the art show, El Barrio No Se Vende, La Cultura Cura, has inspired deeper contemplation on how we embody these roles in an authentic way. True artists, healers, and guides don't need to say it. They live it. It shows up in their actions, in their integrity, in how they hold space for others, and how they approach their work without the need for external validation. The work itself speaks. The energy of authenticity moves beyond words, because with words, people will only process within their own reflections of self, but the energy of authenticity is boundless. Creative ownership is a sacred thing. My recent trip home reminded me of how precious our unique contributions are. Just as the memories of my abuelitos and their legacy belong to my family, so too does their creativity that comes from our deepest selves belongs to us. When I was little and I would visit Mazatlán, my mom always threw a piñata party for everyone. And maybe not just when I was little, because even as an adult, it's something she's always done. And she always required costumes, and it was always a thing. And the piñata party was for everyone. It wasn't just for the kids. It was the adults even hitting the piñatas. And there was just a joy, palpable joy in the air when these would happen. It was really funny. It was hilarious. My late prima, whom is no longer with us and whose grave I visited, always was the first to throw herself on the ground to pick up the candy. It is one of the more distinct memories I have of her, covered in dust and with a whole bunch of children running around her trying to pick up the candy that she had like underneath her belly, because she would jump on all the candy. And what made it so funny was that she's an older prima. And so you have this like giant adult in the sea of children. And it just always brought up so much laughter and joy. On my return this time, I found my little prima, who still lives there. This is my other aunt's daughter, who's now around 21 years old, something like that. And she recently started piñata business, and she was making some while I was there. I kept thinking that maybe all of those moments inspired her in some way, that she took a memory and is now creating something else from it. What is truly ours comes from a deep well within us, from the unique constellation of experiences, visions, and insights that each of us carries. To honor creative ownership means to honor our own originality and to honor the originality of others. When we take shortcuts, when we replicate without truly understanding or respecting the source, we diminish that sacredness. We diminish the magic that comes from something authentically ours. This has been a concept that I really can't shake away after trying to figure out what it is that I was going to paint for this art show. Originally, this art show, El Barrio No Se Vende, was about how culture is not for sale, and yet this particular show is about culture not being for sale, but also how culture can heal. And so there is a little bit of a dichotomy within the theme. And this show has traditionally been a bit of a critique, open for satirical takes on how it is that even our own people will sell the culture, the traditions for profit. And, in my sphere of things, and likely your spheres of things, we see this all the time with more and more ceremonies popping up left and right, and, really starting to question the authenticity of these offerings and what we can do as consumers. When we create from a place of true authenticity, we open ourselves up to the deep, transformative power of creativity. This power is not only about producing art or projects, but also about the transformation that happens within us during the process. Every stroke of a brush, every word written, every piece crafted carries a fragment of the journey, and it changes us as we bring it into existence. This transformation is a sacred alchemy, turning our experiences, emotions, and visions into something tangible, something that resonates not only with ourselves, but also with others who experience it. I believe that true creativity, when nurtured and allowed to flourish, has the ability to heal and transform. It is through our most authentic creations that we honor our ancestors, that we pay homage to their legacies, and that we continue to write the story of who we are and where we come from. The act of creating is not just about making something new, it is also about preserving and transforming the essence of what has been passed down to us. Our creativity is a way of contributing to the lineage of stories, of experiences, of wisdom that came before us. In this way, we become a part of the sacred continuum of life, death, and rebirth, constantly evolving yet always connected to our roots. I also want to take a moment to reflect on the role of rest in this process. Rest is an essential part of transformation. Just as Miquiztli teaches us about death and rebirth, it also teaches us about the quiet moments in between, the pauses that allow us to gather strength, to reflect, and to integrate what we've experienced. Without rest, there can be no true transformation. We live in a culture that often glorifies constant productivity, but the truth is that rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is in those moments of stillness that we can truly listen to ourselves, that we can hear the whispers of our ancestors, and that we can find the inspiration to move forward in our creative journey. So while I look back and think about the episodes I didn't record, or the creative deadlines even that I've set for myself that maybe I didn't meet, I think this is a great reminder that these moments of rest, these moments of returning home to our ancestors, to honor what has been and to invest in the now, are invaluable steps in our journey. In our rest, we find the courage to say yes to life, to embrace every part of our journey, the joys, the sorrows, the uncertainties, and the triumphs. Rest allows us to reconnect with our essence, to remember why we create, and to reignite our passion for what we do. It is in those moments of stillness that we often find our most profound insights, our deepest inspirations, and our most authentic selves. By honoring the need for rest, we honor the natural rhythms of creation and transformation. We honor the ebb and flow, the inhalation and exhalation, the moments of action, and the moments of stillness. Today, I invite you to reflect on what authenticity means to each of us as creators, as members of a community, as individuals navigating our unique paths. Authenticity is not just about showing up as we are, but about honoring the journey that has brought us to this moment. It is about recognizing our experiences, our ancestry, and the ways in which the past and present converge to shape our creative voices. Authenticity is also a commitment, one that asks us to face the discomfort of vulnerability, to stand in our truth, even when it might not be what others expect, and to embrace the parts of ourselves that we may have hidden or neglected. In a world that often celebrates conformity and mass production, staying true to oneself can feel like an act of rebellion, but it is a necessary rebellion, one that keeps our creative fires alive. When we create from a place of authenticity, we contribute something meaningful to the world, something that carries our essence, our truth. It is through this process that we create not just art, but a legacy. We leave behind imprints of our spirit, traces of our journey, and glimpses of what it means to live fully and courageously. Our creations become part of a larger story, one that connects us to those who came before and those who will come after. This next part is really where my heart has been. It is, as we reflect on what authenticity means, we must also consider the courage it takes to be seen. To share our work, our visions, and our truths with the world is to open ourselves to both connection and critique. It is to allow others to witness our most intimate expressions, to offer up a piece of our soul for others to experience. This act of sharing is vulnerable, and yet it is also where the magic happens. It is where we find connection, where our stories resonate with others, where our art becomes a bridge that brings us closer to one another. Authenticity requires us to embrace this vulnerability, to trust that what we create from the heart will find its way to those who need it. Another key aspect of authenticity is the willingness to evolve. Authenticity doesn't mean staying the same. It means being true to who we are in each moment, even as we change. It means allowing ourselves to grow, to learn, and to transform, just as Miquiztli teaches us about the cycles of death and rebirth. Authenticity asks us to let go of what no longer serves us and to embrace the new. It asks us to release old stories, old patterns, and old identities that may have once been a part of us but are no longer aligned with who we are becoming. This process of shedding and renewal is not always easy, but it is essential for our growth as creators and as human beings. It means also to honor boundaries, knowing when to say no, when to step back, and when to protect our energy. As creators, we often feel the pressure to say yes to every opportunity, to constantly produce, to always be available. But true authenticity requires us to listen to our own needs, to prioritize our well-being, and to create from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. It means understanding that rest, reflection, and nourishment are just as important as action and output. By honoring our boundaries, we create the space we need to flourish, to reconnect with our inspiration, and to show up fully in our creative practice. As you consider your own journey, I invite you to think about the ways in which you can bring more authenticity into your life and your creative work. What parts of yourself have you been hiding, and how can you begin to bring them to the surface? What stories have you been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of, and are those stories still true? How can you honor the legacy of your ancestors, your experiences that have shaped you, the unique gifts that you bring to the world? These are not easy questions, but they are the questions that lead us to deeper understanding, greater clarity, and more meaningful creation. Remember, authenticity is not a destination. It is a practice, a way of being. It is something we return to again and again, especially in moments of doubt, fear, or uncertainty. It is the compass that guides us back to ourselves, that reminds us of why we create and who we are creating for. It is the foundation upon which we build our art, our relationships, our lives. And it is what allows us to connect with others in a way that is real, profound, and lasting. When we create from a place of authenticity, we're not just making art, we are making magic. When I left my family home, I remember telling my tia that it's okay to let things change, to release expectations of how things could have been. She, like many of us, has been struggling with grief. And I think about how Miquiztli, the energy of transformation, invites us to do just that, to honor what has been, to embrace the inevitability of change, and to find the courage to move forward, evolving and growing with each new step we take. The path of creation is not for the faint of heart. It requires resilience, the kind of resilience that doesn't shy away from discomfort. It requires us to stay true to our vision, even in times of uncertainty and challenge. This is the work, transforming what inspires us into something uniquely ours, honoring our experiences, and creating from a place of authenticity. True healing and transformation lie in this journey. It isn't always neat or easy, but it is powerful and it is necessary. As we move forward, I hope we can remember that community doesn't mean sameness. It means honoring the unique offerings each of us brings to the table, celebrating the diversity of our thoughts, creativity, and spirits. It means having the courage to embrace change and to support one another in our personal transformations. It means gently encouraging each other to stay true to our individual paths while weaving our unique threads into the greater collective fabric. Just as Miquiztli teaches us to embrace transformation, we too can evolve together, growing in authenticity and integrity, and lifting one another up in the process. Because at the end of the day, what truly matters is how we show up in the world, how we honor our loved ones, our ancestors, our communities, and ourselves. We are all interconnected, part of the vast web of life, the one woven by grandmother spider. And yet we are each distinct threads within that web. May we have the courage to be fully ourselves, to honor our creative integrity, to rest when needed, and to hold space for one another in ways that uplift and empower. Tlasokamati for joining me today. I hope that this little message has resonated with you. It's a little bit of a departure from my usual programming, but I felt the need to share some of my internal dialogue in the spirit of authenticity and wanting to show up in a way that is more vulnerable and just showing up as a human. I think we all need a little bit more of that. So again, Pasukamati for joining me. May we all find the courage to live in authenticity, to honor creative integrity, and to cultivate genuine connection in every aspect of our lives. If you would like to support my work, please visit my website. You can find copies of my book, black and white copies or signed copies. You can also book a tonalamat with me or purchase art prints and all those other things that I mentioned. I will be releasing a batch of jewelry here soon as well for those that are searching for that. And again, thank you for your time. Sending you all lots of love. Tlasokamati. Fometeot.